Hey, what's going on, guys? Insanity here, and in today's video I'd like to discuss a few tips on how you can win a larger portion of your solo matches. Basically, I've compiled a few things that I think could help, both new and experienced players alike in winning a larger percentage of their solo matches in the last 3 seasons of playing Fortnite. Now, I'd like to just preface this by saying I'm by no means a, top-ranked Fortnite player in that I don't have an enormous amount of wins, or, I'm not on a ranked leaderboard, but they are basically by any metric my best Fortnite game mode, both kills per match, winning percentage, KD, anything. I'm going to pull up my stats shortly just so that you can see what I'm currently sitting at. I'm definitely not a professional player or anything like that, but I do think that I've compiled and learned along the way a few tips that I think can help both new players and players who've been playing for a while who just want to improve their game. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so my first tip for winning a larger portion of solo games is to formulate your landing. If you're just randomly landing wherever in every game, you're not really going to get into a routine, and each game's kind of going to feel a bit disorganized and kind of, at the whim. I think it's a really good idea to kind of formulate your landing. What I mean by this is, unless you're going for a really high kill massacre, I'd avoid tilted, but kind of pick a few places that are usually close to the battle bus and have a few people where you can get some early kills, kind of get your confidence up early on, get some early resources, some good loot early on, and kind of go into mid-game feeling pretty good about yourself. So my favorite places to do this are, Pleasant Park, Retail Row, Salty Springs, occasionally Fatal or Anarchy, which has now been replaced by a new place with the map changes. So you're going to have to do your research with the new map, see what places you like, get to know where the chest spawns are, the popular buildings, where people will be coming from, where they'll be rotating to, kind of get your confidence up in a few main regions, and I feel like you'll kind of get into a rhythm while you're playing solo matches, and it won't feel as random or kind of uncertain. My second tip, after getting your early kills, hopefully, is to make a first rotation towards kind of that band in the middle of the map where you can guarantee where there will be a decent amount of players. And that band is between Tilted, Dusty, and Loot Lake. Here you can definitely find and pick off some people from mid-range, get some mid-game kills, and the main reason you want to do this is you want to finalize your inventory early on. And what I mean by this is the worst thing is to get to endgame and to not have good loot, to be waiting on a good shotgun or a good AR while people who have been aggressive, loaded the entire game, are sitting there with really good loot. So what you want to do is you want to get these mid-game kills, and the best place to do that is around Loot Lake, Dusty, and Tilted in that area. Once you've done that, you can finalize your inventory. And actually, going into my third tip, you need to kind of also formulate your inventory, see what works for you. Now, with the recent shotgun changes, not only to damage nerf, but also with the weapon switch time, I feel like the mid-range meta is more open than it's ever been, possibly. So I think at this point, it's really play it at your own, see what works for you, and play by your strengths. So for me, recently, now that double pump, I think it's personally going to fall off the map. I've been rocking the pump to an SMG or a Thompson or just attack in general. So see what works for you and kind of finalize that. So I generally keep 2 slots in my inventory for, my close range guns. Then my third slot will be for an AR, and then I'll have 1 slot set for heals, and then my final slot will either be an additional slot for heals or something like a grenade launcher and a hunting rifle. So you're going to want to maximize and formulate your inventory, in mid-game, so that while you're going to endgame, you're not worried about getting too much loot. You can focus on, playing carefully and, finishing the game out strong. Now, my fourth tip, that's kind of, something that I think is a little bit overlooked in solo matches, is that you really need to be patient when facing enemies. In solos, in theory, what's great about them is that you're going up just against one person. Now, you do get crunched every once in a while, but generally in most of your fights, you're just going to have you versus one person. You and your loot and your resources versus them and their loot and their resources. So take your time. In theory, you should be able to kind of take each shot from an advantageous position. What I mean by this is take each shot from a position where, it's very unlikely that your opponent will reciprocate and deal damage to you. So what I mean by this is you want to constantly keep high ground, reassess where your opponent is, take smart shots, take your time. And I think if you do this, if you don't freak out, if you kind of keep your cool and stay composed, you'll win a lot more of your battles. And I think it's really important in solo matches compared to something like squads or duos where you need to kind of pounce and focus on one guy, or another guy's going to come up on you and and kill you from the side or behind or whatever. So that's kind of something that's really nice about solos that I think is overlooked, and you can kind of play around with that, practice, and I think you'll start to appreciate it a lot more. Now my final tip, which is kind of on a similar wavelength to that, is to be selectively aggressive. Solos are a little different from squads and duos in that I hear so many people say you need to play much more passively if you want to win. You know, there is some truth to the fact that you need to be a little bit more careful with the battles you pick. But you can certainly, you know, play aggressively and get a decent amount of kills and win solo matches. Now, you know, you see in this game mode, it's not a super high kill game. I wanted to show you kind of a typical gameplay so you guys get the hang of how I play solos and how I win a good amount of solo matches. But you can push people, you know, you just need to do it smartly. If there's two people fighting on a hill and you're on the other side of the hill, for sure, push that. You know, shoot down on them and get those kills. You want to play from that advantageous point that I mentioned earlier. So pick your battles carefully. Like for example, in this final battle, I see these two guys fighting. One gets I botched the building here. One guy gets taken out. You know, I get some shots on him. I know the final guy's low. So what I do is I just keep firing on him. I put some pressure on him. He's definitely trying to pull some heals off. And you know, pick your battles carefully. You know, I know it's the last guy. He's weak. He seems to be a little bit intimidated. So I push him. Have the high ground on him before he can even think. And then he doesn't seem like the greatest builder in the world, so I'm kind of just going gung-ho and fly in. But you know, you can be a little bit more careful if you really want to secure the win. But yeah, those are my final tips, guys. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you guys ever want to play together, hit me up on PSN. You know, I'll be coming out with more tutorial videos soon. And I hope this tutorial does help you guys in Season 5.